So much. Later on, the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Education is going to outline a number of measures that we have taken in supporting the learning across the country. As you can see, we are accompanied here by the CEO of the Teacher Service Commission, the Chair of the National Parents Association is here, the Chair of the Secondary Schools Heads Association was with us, the Chair of the Kenya Primary Schools Heads Association, the Chair of the Private Schools Association is here, and even the leadership of the international schools was with us. So we have had a very inclusive meeting and discussed at some level of detail a number of things that some of which are outlined in a document that is going to be issued later on by the Ministry of Education, detailing every action that the government has taken to ensure that learning resumes normally and as fast as possible. But to provide a quick summary of that, I invite the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor Magoha.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was hoping that it was Mutahi Kagwe first to clear the way for me, but since I'm here, I will have to face you without his assistance. I want to affirm very strongly that the government of the Republic of Kenya has done everything possible to ensure that our schools are ready for reopening. Throughout the last 6 months and even throughout the last few days during the festive season, we have had our officers out there completing the delivery of desks that is one of the pillars that is going to assist in the children becoming comfortable when we open. And I'm glad to announce that we are doing very well, even with regards to payment for the people who have made the desks. As I speak to you, there are people in accounts who are ensuring that people are paid. There are my officers, including the Director of Quality Assurance, who is out in the field ensuring that those who have not completed these desks, the stimulus package of 1.9 billion is done. As you will remember, because we negotiated the price for these desks, we got from 250,000, which was intended, we are going to provide over 500,000 desks to our children. As far as masking is concerned, there should be no more debates because all children will report on Monday and they shall be masked. As you can see, we are having an all-government approach. Everybody is here, from the finance person to the interior who coordinates us, to health. Every child will have a mask. We have instructed and pleaded with the parents, most of who can buy masks, to buy at least 2 reusable masks. For those 3 million children who will require masks, and including those others in the PP1 and PP2 that cannot afford masks, masks shall be made available to them. Where you people are going to bring a lot of noise, we are going to make a lot of noise, is the issue of social distancing. And we have said this will remain a challenge, but it shall not stop us from opening our schools. So we shall open our schools. Please don't start saying, oh, this is they are not keeping 1 meter distance. Go and keep it for yourself. We have said that you can use, the teachers should be innovative. And our gallant teachers being innovative, it means every open space in the school, the dining hall, the assembly hall, the school auditorium, can be used as classrooms and converted when the purpose for which it was meant is required, including open spaces, weather permitting. By the way, most people don't know that learning under a tree is extremely healthy because the trees remove carbon dioxide and give more oxygen. So don't criminalize the thought of having the children learning outside. In terms of water and soap, the only thing I want to say before I conclude, there's water and soap in our schools, as you witnessed, because we opened schools over the last 3 months. We opened all schools, and there was no issue of water and soap. If it becomes an issue because the numbers are large, the government is ready and willing. You can see the Minister for Water. And I also want to thank CARE and UNICEF and many other NGOs who have come in to help us. I want us to give our parents and the country a positive outlook for tomorrow. And I'm asking the Fourth Estate also to join us because maybe I should not say this, Mr. Chairman, but they have a tendency of looking for the negatives. Like when when I said children can learn outside trees, it was like we are saying now the government is not going to build classrooms and children can learn outside trees. That was a negative context. Finally, on the issue of school fees, as I finish, as we say that children should not be turned away from home, this is not a blank check for parents who can afford to take their children to school without school fees. Because children who are boarding are going to eat. Now, that child has been eating in your house. You are taking the child to school and you expect my teacher to feed the child with what? Has the child not been eating in your house? I want to urge the teachers to be vigilant so that they also are able to identify the children who are thoroughly indigent and are poor and cannot afford school fees, and they must be allowed to stay in school as we look for scholarship or as we arrange to pay scholarship for them. Finally, on the issue of sanitizers, I cannot say that there should be no sanitizers in schools because there may be schools who have no water at all at certain times. Sanitizer may then help. But if sanitizers are brought to school, they must be in the custody of teachers and they must be used outside in the public place where everybody is seeing so that our gallant children don't use them for other things. I thank you and I want to encourage you to continue to support us in this process. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I think what my brother is saying is that this is that one moment when we all come together for the good of our children. God has been kind and gracious to us, blessed us with a lot of children, wonderful kids we have. And we have all turned up. As you can see, we are all here across government to ensure that our children get back to school safely and they learn well. And one question that kept coming up, and the leaders of the sector who are here raised questions about transport tomorrow and how that is going to be done tomorrow and the days to come. We've been working with our traffic police. The Inspector General Police has been with us in this meeting. But the Honorable Minister for Transport has been having meetings also focusing on this to ensure that our children are not stranded and that they are transported safely to schools tomorrow. And I would like to invite my brother James Macharia to make a comment on that aspect. CS Macharia, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Like you've heard, the transport sector is usually one of the key areas in terms of not just transmission of the virus, but also in terms of mitigation measures. So for us, at the very beginning, we determined that 90% of all the traveling we have in this country is through the public transport. And so we cannot discuss about our kids being in school without discussing about how they'll get to school. And so because of that, in the last 2 days, we've been engaging the key stakeholders in the public transport sector, including the Matatu Owners Association, with whom we have agreed that tomorrow they will have very robust measures put in place. We are aware we are still in the festive season, and this is a season when we have a lot of accidents. The last thing we want to do is that before the kids get to school, we have these, God forbid, accidents along the way. So we've agreed with the chairman of Matatu Owners Association 3 things. Number 1, all the drivers will be tested for alcohol. We shall not allow anybody getting into those vehicles who has been drinking in the previous 1 or 2 days. Secondly, we have also made sure that these drivers will not drive long distances, because by doing so, they get fatigued and they cause accidents along the way. Thirdly, we have agreed that they will not hike the fares. We appreciate that and recognize the fact that parents are coming from a very difficult period, whereby they are constrained economically. The last thing we want is them to be overcharged in terms of the kids going back to school. So in terms of Matatu sector, that's what we've agreed. Secondly, to complement the Matatu sector, we have looked at the railway system which we have. We have the SGR, we have the MGR. And what we agreed with the Kenya Railways management is that tomorrow being Monday, when the kids are going back to school, we shall double the capacity of our inter-county trains. Every day, in normal days, we have one train coming from Mombasa and one train coming from Nairobi. We have made sure that now we have two pairs, two trains coming from Mombasa and two trains coming from Nairobi. And these trains will be inter-county. We want to emphasize that because our kids will be leaving Nairobi, for example, going to Machako schools, going to Mutito Aderi schools, and so forth. Tomorrow, we shall not have express train. All trains coming to Nairobi and vice versa, they'll be actually stopping in the 7 stations along Mombasa-Nairobi highway. Also, we have looked at the MGR. You're aware, recently we did rehabilitate the line from Nairobi to Nanyuki. And tomorrow at 9 a.m., we shall have a train ready from here to Nairobi, from Nairobi, all the way to Nanyuki, which will be carrying about 1,500 of our students and their parents. And then lastly, also we have directed Kenya Railways tomorrow to make sure we have full capacity of our intra-city commuter rail. We have 20 trains running tomorrow to make sure that students going around in the Nairobi metropolis have no problem. That will allow us to move at least 60,000 passengers, majority of them will be children tomorrow, to make sure they get to school safely and on time. Thank you.
Thanks. Finally, before I invite CS Kawe, I need to emphasize this. My friends from the media and fellow citizens, it's very important that we understand that the government has been spending time on planning for our children and planning for the education sector. A lot of investment has gone into this, and if we had time to allow, for example, the CEO of TSC, she would tell you about how our teachers are now covered, and the fact that their cover also includes if they are infected by corona, their cover has been enhanced in that kind of manner. We have actually put all our students in secondary schools on a medical cover by NHIF, those ones who are in boarding schools, be sure that in the event, and we pray that it doesn't happen, they get into some challenges. They're already covered when they're in school. And so many things that we have done. The document that is going to be circulated to you by the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education, is very detailed. Please look at it very carefully, and you will see that His Excellency, the President, has lived up to the promises he has made in terms of his focus and the level of investment and energy he is spending on ensuring that our children are attended to, addressed, and that the education sector runs very effectively. And a lot more is going to be done. And that's why you can see we are all mobilized and we're here to just focus on nothing else this week but ensuring that our children go back to school effectively. We will do our very best to ensure that this happens. We are putting up a joint command center that is integrated, brings together all the institutions, including the Council of Governors, so that we'll be receiving information from across the country in real time where there are issues that need to be addressed, and all agencies are mobilized to address them in real time as we move along. And this command center will be, at the Ministry of Interior, but with representation from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Council of Governors, the TSC, and all the critical stakeholders, including the Private Schools Association. So we want to have an inclusive conversation and act together as we ensure that we take care of our children and that resumption of learning in our schools happens effectively. And because we got here as a result of a health challenge, I'm now going to invite my brother and my colleague, our Cabinet Secretary for Health, CS Kawe, to make some remarks before we conclude this exercise. All right, fair enough. CS Kawe, please.
Thank you very much, my colleague CS Matiang'i and our chairman. First and foremost, I want to confirm that the Ministry of Health has issued protocols on each of the issues that we are speaking to today, specifically addressing the safety of the children. And it's not just the safety of the children, it's the safety of the teachers as well. As you are aware, persons who are, the older you are, the more vulnerable you are to the virus. And therefore, the protocols that have been issued include the fact that it is not just the children who are supposed to be masked, but also the teachers, specifically the teachers, are supposed to be masked as well. So there is a raft of measures all the way from transport to the classroom, to working outside the classroom, to the behavior of the children, even as they are being transported. All these things have been addressed in our protocol that has been issued to the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Health, of Education. So this, as the chairman has explained, this approach, an all-government approach, is what we have also done. Now, it is important for us to appreciate that if you look at global best practice and you look at what has been happening elsewhere in the world, you will see that from last year, various countries had different protocols. Some of them opened schools and then immediately closed their schools once the preparations, once they realized the preparations for the reopening of the schools had not been effectively and efficiently put in place. That is why we have taken our time. That's why we are working in the manner in which you are seeing, with everybody being involved. We, at the moment, the country is experiencing very, very low rates, positivity rates, below 5% over the last almost 7 days or so. And for that reason, there is confidence that hopefully it is something we can maintain even after opening the schools. However, we must anticipate any situation, and therefore that is why we have asked that the preparations for all sorts of isolation facilities in counties and so on are all put in place just in the event of anything like that happening. And that is what also informed His Excellency the President's issuance of the orders today, so that we can make sure that we have done our level best to protect the children as they reopen school tomorrow. Finally, Mr. Chairman, is for me to just ask that this one time, if there is one thing that is crucial and important in any country, it is the issue of the children. It is matters of our children. And therefore, is an appeal to parents and to everybody concerned, including the media, for us this one time to work in a bipartisan manner, in such a manner that the main aim focuses on the safety of our children. On our part, we will continue, on the Ministry of Health part, we will continue to pursue other possibilities of protection. As you are aware, we are also working on vaccines, and we have identified that once those vaccines are available, possibly, as I said, in the next month or so, once they are available, part of the definition of a healthcare worker in going forward for the use of the vaccine is also the teachers who are operating in, with very many children, and therefore just as vulnerable as other frontline soldiers. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just urge the media to please support the system. Please support the teachers, support the schools. It is okay to point out an error here and there, but on the main, let's remain focused and give our children hope. I think the key thing is to give our children hope. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waziri. Ordinarily, this would be the time for members of the press to ask questions. But today, because most of the concerns that you may want to raise are contained in the statement that will be shared with you. And therefore, we're only going to allow one, at the very most, 2 questions. So when you get a chance, please remember your name and the media house that you represent. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, you can.
Let me just clarify, and I think that it was explained very well to us actually during the plenary that we had there by the chair, by Nancy Macharia, who is here with us, that those covers include COVID cases. And I would like to confirm that even the ones with the NHIF, the ones related to children, also cover COVID cases.
Thank you. The last one? Yes, Haimba. Your name, please, and the media house will present.
Don't put a challenge where there's none. Water issue is not a challenge. It was not a challenge when we opened the schools for the last 3 months. We are not going to make it one because we are available together with the Minister for Water and other people. Now, the government has already released Kenya shilling 4 billion for our primary school sector. That money should hit the accounts tomorrow or latest by Tuesday. Then the balance of 14.6 billion will hit the accounts of secondary schools before Friday. Number two, the infrastructure fund, even though it shrunk, and you understand why it shrunk, I don't need to tell you. The one that is available is going to be released by the Exchequer anytime now. And if you want to have comfort, there are, for example, some schools that were wiped away or that are flooded permanently, where we have temporarily placed the children to go to the nearby schools. Adequate funds have been allocated for rebuilding those schools. So don't create a challenge where it does not exist. Let the challenge come first. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks. And I think with that, just to emphasize that we are ready. I mean, we have spent time. My colleague C.S. Yatan is here, the Minister for Finance. The issues about infrastructure funds were raised earlier. Heads of the chair of the Secondary School Association raised the issue. As the Minister for Education says, we are ready to proceed. Let's not anticipate problems where there are none. Let us pray that the Lord takes care of our children and our parents, that the Lord guides our kids this year and strengthens our hand as a government for the good work ahead, and that we are able to give our children what the Lord enables us to give them so that we can raise them up in the manner in which the Creator who gave them to us wants us to raise them up. Thank you, good people, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Waziri. And for the members of the press, we'll be giving you regular updates as we move forward. Thank you.
Kameme TV. Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing.